Okay, so welcome everybody. So excited to share this. It's one of my favorite topics. It's one of the biggest things that's created a shift in every area of my life. And it's taken me about 15 plus years to kind of condense it down into what it took me to figure out to where I could share it with people in really easy to understand bite-sized, simple tools. So the only thing that is required of one is just practice. Practice like everything else. So the topic tonight is how to make your conscious awareness your ally and reclaim any wasted thought energy on struggle and unworthiness. So what I'm going to do, first of all, is I'm going to give a little background on myself. And while I do that, I'm going to share this other screen here that I put together. So this information truly has the ability to radically and drastically alter your life and your perception in every area. If you're not ready to accept 100% full responsibility for everything that's showing up in your life, please stop watching this now. For once the download begins, you will not be able to unknow it. And I love that. So I'm going to give a little bit of background on myself. Before we jump in, I think it'll be really helpful to share my backstory as to where I was in my life and how I got to this point to come up with this information. So basically grew up in the Midwest, lived in nature in a place called Cincinnati, Ohio. Went to Catholic schools, got into that very young. There was a lot of fear-based programming from the beginning with 75-year-old nuns that were upset, pissed off, slamming the kids on the wrist with wooden rulers, with the metal strip going down the middle of them. I didn't have the ability to process conscious awareness at that time, but I knew that something was wrong. And it wasn't until years later when I met one of my greatest teachers that I would start unraveling all of the program that I received in Catholic schools, in church, from my mom, from society, from the media. So basically what happened to me was, at 7 years old, I came home one day to find out that my dad had died in a plane crash. And I didn't really know my dad that well because he was a traveling salesman for the Ford Motor Company. So he was gone all week, every week, and he was only home on the weekends. I know we spent a lot of time together. I know that he loved me. But when I received that information from my uncle on that day, I know I had no ability how to process it. This is where the wound that I'm going to talk about happened, one of my wounds. And I made certain agreements at that time, subconsciously, to protect myself. So I had a couple stepfathers. One of them was a pretty good guy. The other one was a little abusive. They both beat me at times because that's the way they were raised. And I ended up fast forwarding to moving out on my own when I turned 16. Because I was a good kid, I got straight A's and B's. I was a soccer star, swim team, diving team. I was a good kid. I was paying attention the best I could, but those wounds would come back to create cycles in my life in almost every area. So I'm really going to get into that, and I'm going to get into how we go in and dismantle these things, because it's the key to being balanced in every area of our life. So I'm super passionate about this. So about 30 years old, after a couple of relationships, one of my relationships ended, and I was recommended a book 2 times in a 60-day period called The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, who would very shortly thereafter become my mentor for 10 years, and that still continues today. So the blessing was, I was listening, I was feeling pain, and I decided to seek some help instead of continuing to blame everything on outside circumstances. So the blessing was, Miguel lived in San Diego. I ended up meeting him and becoming a close apprentice with his for, like I say, over 10 years. during that time, what I realized was I was running a program. I was running many programs. And what Miguel taught me was to question every single belief and to become the watcher of every single thought. And then I ended up taking that deeper. The more I did the work, the more I've done workshops, and the more I've worked with and coached people, to where I've condensed it down into a really powerful formula that I'm going to share with you right now. So what ended up happening is I ended up, over the past couple years, creating a book called Waking Up in the Dream. And a lot of this information is contained in that book. And I was really able to take the time to figure out how I could share this with people so it would really hit home, as long as they were willing to show up and be hungry to learn like I was. So the first step in this process is becoming mindful. Life repeats itself mindlessly until you become mindful. It will go on repeating like a wheel. So cycles, you may notice in your life that cycles continue to happen. Maybe you keep attracting the same people in your life, the same relationships, the same issues around money, fear, feeling unworthiness, just having those triggers come up. And it's because we're holding an energetic pattern from something that happened in the past. And because we were not taught how to go in and clear that, it keeps repeating itself. So one of my main goals is to get this out more into the public, get it in schools, and create power schools, mystery schools, where this kind of stuff is taught, because it's the most important thing. Knowing thyself and being able to meet your emotions that are coming up is just completely so vital to living a fulfilling life and then contributing to your relationships in society. So this presentation has the ability to completely change your life if you're willing to put it into practice and challenge everything that you think you now know and believe. It's a pretty grand opening and claim, but if you pay attention and keep an open mind, the goal is that you will have some major aha moments like I did digesting this information. And this may have possibly ever been shared with you on this level. So everyone that is aware of this information leads a completely different life than those that do not, because they have the ability to see what others are just automatically reacting to. You see it everywhere. So the question is, are you running your mind, or is your mind running you? So if you're running your mind, that means you have a certain level of awareness. If your mind is running you in most cases, that's what I would call running on autopilot, just reacting to everything that does not match your current belief set. So the day you become more interested in being aware of your thoughts than the thoughts themselves, that's the day you will find your way out. And I call that your get out of hell free card. It may not be free, it may take some work, but I really invite people to digest that sentence again. The day you become more interested in being aware of your thoughts than the thoughts themselves, and I would even add, and reacting to them without being aware, that's the day you'll find your way out. Super powerful. So when I met Miguel in 2001, I realized that 99% of the information that was on my hard drive, i.e. my mind, was put there by somebody else. This was a huge realization for me and very, very shocking. And it is for most people when they start doing the work. The one area that trips up almost everyone that I work with is the area of conscious awareness or lack thereof. In other words, again, are you running your mind, or is your mind running you? Have you ever really stopped to become the watcher of your thoughts judgments, emotional reactions, and quick responses. Many people haven't, and that is probably the number one cause for drama, war, discord in all relationships, all religions, all different countries. I say the number one addiction in the world is judgment. It's not drugs and alcohol. I don't even think those come close. That may be shocking to you, but if you stop to think about how many times you actually judge yourself during the day, it's probably thousands and thousands of times. And what this program is going to do when you put it into practice, it's going to start dismantling that very, very quickly. And you will begin to find, that even 10, 20, 30, 40 years of programming will start to dismantle very quickly using your awareness. I see that happen with the people that we coach in these 4 to 6 week programs every month. And it's just so inspiring. So let's talk about reaction mode versus growth mode. The truth is, you are either operating in reaction response mode or growth, presence, and learning mode in each moment. That means you're either reacting to the incoming information, which you either agree with, or if it doesn't match your belief, you go into a judgment about it. This creates drama in our life all day long. And so many people are addicted to being right, and they can't figure out why they're unhappy and why there's drama in many or most of their relationships. So which one do you usually operate from? Many people have never even asked themselves that question. So it's great, really powerful. So the signs of an aware person are you a reactor most of the time, or do you have the awareness to listen, to find the gift in every situation and interaction by seeing, or should I say choosing, to see everything and everyone as your teacher? Such a powerful tool to be able to stop and pause and say, what is the gift here in this situation? And that's basically what the whole book, Waking Up in the Dream, is about. And then there's just a massive toolkit of tools. It's a roadmap I wish I would have had when I was a teenager growing up. So the first choice of being in reaction mode all the time is basically insanity. Because basically what you're doing is you're resisting what is. In other words, what is happening, what just happened, what was said, what was done, what you perceived in the external world. And if you're just reacting to it from a place of judgment, it's insanity. The second way of looking for the gift, what is this showing me about myself? What is this trying to teach me? That's mastery. So let's talk about what a trigger is, what they are, and how and why they keep reoccurring. Okay? So a trigger is an emotional reaction within the body that is the result of an old painful wound or memory being relived that becomes triggered or activated by seeing, hearing, or sensing something that makes one react or contract from a place that is not love. In other words, these would be feeling fear, unworthiness, judgment, feeling less than, shame, guilt, or threatened in some way. So if you look around at the world today, you can easily see that the majority of the people today are running in reaction response mode to things that appear to be outside of themselves in what we're going to label the external world. That's what we're seeing outside of our eyes. So these are the people that are projecting all of their inner wounds onto others because they have not been taught how to process these deep-seated emotions, nor have they been taught this powerful tool of how to watch and clear these emotions by feeling them, by allowing them to come up and safely releasing them instead of reacting and just basically pouring gasoline on the fire, creating what I call a loop. So why is judgment the biggest addiction on the planet? Because so many people have been trained to go into reaction mode whenever anything is presented to them that goes against their beliefs or their desires. Also, the need to be right and control a situation is a virus which is responsible for most drama on the planet. And if one feels the need to be right and constantly project their beliefs and opinions onto everyone else, I can assure you that they are living in fear at some level. So this is all great stuff that we get to look at. And again, we can really start to dismantle lifelong wounds and programming very quickly when we start to use these tools. So let's talk about being right versus being wise or all-knowing. So would you rather be right or be consciously aware of your thoughts and reactions and begin to experience unlimited growth and magical possibilities in your life on a daily basis? For those that understand the laws of nature and how repeating cycles get created over and over, this should be a no-brainer and a way of life. So let's talk about what these cycles are, what repeating cycles and loops, as I call them. The repeating occurrences that we're attracting with our internal energetic fields that we are holding within ourselves. We're holding these internal energetic fields because they're wounds from the past, they're beliefs. They're things that we have chosen to not really examine, and we view them as who we are. Like we view them as our identity for some reason. And this is really important when you begin to start to look at your beliefs and question them. Many people go into fear because they relate their identity with their beliefs. So they get a little scared because they're like, well, if I'm not my beliefs, what am I and who am I? Well, the key is you're an unlimited being. And here's a really powerful statement that I really resonate with. We truly are unlimited beings, addicted to believing that we're not. There's nothing that you can't accomplish if you set your mind to it. If you can imagine it in your mind, there's a 99.9% chance that you can accomplish it. And if your judge is popping up right now going, well, Jeff, I can imagine $1 million in my hands right now, but I can't seem to pull it in right now. Well, then that's something to look at. But let's give it the benefit of the doubt that you are an unlimited being, because there's people out there with no arms and legs that are accomplishing things that we can only imagine. And there's videos and testimonials and documentation of people with just the most horrific odds against them that end up accomplishing the most incredible stuff. So these cycles and loops, it's like our internal blueprint of stored information that, again, that's being held in our cells that remembers all that has happened to us in this lifetime and possibly as well as previous lifetimes. And things that were energetically handed down to us in our DNA from our parents, our grandparents, and possibly our ancestors. So for right now, we're only going to focus on the things that occurred to us in this present lifetime. So how did this happen? So again, we've been handed down programming by our parents, by society, religion, the media, and the indoctrination of some kind of school system. This is an indisputable fact that everybody can see no matter what country you live in. You came into this world with a clean slate mind filled with wonder. And beginning at around 2 years old, we begin taking on thoughts and beliefs from everything that's being reflected at us and around us. So at this time, when we came in to our lives at around 2 years old, we go into like sponge-like mode. And we're just soaking up all this information. And we really don't have any control over what information and emotions were being fed by outside sources. We simply ingested everything that we were exposed to without having really any say in the matter. It's like you're a computer and somebody else comes along and just puts all this crap on your computer. Some of it's maybe good. A lot of it's not in line with your purpose. But that's the beauty of this journey and the challenge of undoing this programming. It's a hell of a roller coaster ride. I'm sure you'll agree. So let's talk about this faulty programming. The next thing you know, you're more grown up and you're trying to figure out why life has to be such a struggle. It's because the programming you were given in most cases was faulty. Unless you were raised by a ninja monk in some isolated kingdom of positivity, the programming and pressures of the outside world crept into your psyche and greatly affected you to get you to go along with the norm of society, which resulted in you losing your own identity and uniqueness in many ways. So when we fast forward to today, every problem that we self-create in our lives is usually the result of that faulty thinking and the programming or wounding that we received. So how could this be? All of our beliefs are correct, right? Most of us have gone through some kind of schooling to learn how to navigate in this world. Is it possible that we weren't taught the truth? What if most of the things you were taught about navigating through life were inaccurate? Just considering that possibility would rattle most people's cages. How could it be that we were never taught how to become successful, happy, and at peace, and also how to think? We were taught what to believe instead of actually how to think and process our emotions. It's insanity. So instead, we were fed an illusionary recipe about working hard all of our lives, putting our dreams on hold instead of living in the present moment, accumulating external possessions, and needing to have the perfect image in order to call ourselves successful. What a great setup for drama, stress, and unhappiness. It was ingrained into our heads that we would more than likely have to sacrifice happiness if we wanted to achieve the American dream or our biggest dreams. It's not our fault that we were programmed to believe some of these lies. It happened to our grandparents, our parents, and many others throughout history. So it's a recipe for unhappiness. So let's get into how we start to clean this up. How do we get to that place of inner peace? It starts with undoing the program and beliefs that no longer serve us. They've actually never served us. Like everyone else, we've been all doing our best with what we were given. And that's about to change with this information. So the greatest key to your freedom and happiness lies in your ability to increase your conscious awareness and begin to start watching these thoughts, emotions, and triggers instead of reacting to them on autopilot. So what is true awareness? True awareness is being aware of every single thought, word, and emotion that shows up in every present moment for you. For most people, this can only be achieved through repetition and daily practice. The good news is, again, that the more you make it a priority, the easier and the more automatic it'll become. So let's talk about the mind a little bit. The more we react to something we don't like, and we keep doing that, we burn in like an automatic groove into our mind. So the next time that same situation happens, what's the first thought that's available in the queue? It's the one that's been burned in over and over and over and over. So the great news is it's not that hard to replace these with awareness. So this is the opposite of automatic responses and reactions that so many are running on. Most people tend to believe that everything they think, judge, and say is right. And in a lot of cases, they'll defend their made-up or believed point of view to the death. These people must be right in order to feel good about themselves. The truth is, the truth never needs to be defended. And the one defending their truth or their beliefs has just slipped into the ego by needing others to agree with their point of view. And we'll talk about this. This is called projecting your beliefs and emotions on other people. Not good energy. And it just creates more drama in your life. So you are creating all of this with your thoughts, your words, and imagination. And so if you believe that everything is nothing more than random chaos, you could be in for a long and difficult ride on your journey. The reason for this is because if you don't choose to take responsibility for everything you do create in your life, you're basically leaving yourself powerless in a universe where you were given free will to do exactly that. So how do we tune into and become aware of these energies or patterns in order to discard or magnify their energetic imprints in our field? We do this by becoming more aware of our thoughts, emotions, and reactions in each interaction with ourselves and with others, as well as when we see something in the external world, something we may not like, something we may not agree with in the media, or just something that goes against our beliefs. So the whole key to this whole thing is we must be willing to look at our stuff in order to have any hope of changing our outcomes moving forward. So what is our stuff? Our stuff includes any beliefs, judgments, traumas, resentments towards ourselves and others, codependencies, or anything else that may be limiting us from living the life we desire. So once we begin to practice watching our thoughts, judgments, and reactions, we'll begin to see that although there will always be challenges in life, we really only have two choices in every moment. Either we choose a non-judgmental, loving thought, or we choose to be in reaction. It's really quite simple. Every master from the Dalai Lama to Jesus and the Buddha practiced this level of awareness to achieve peace and well-being. So let's go into how do we go about creating this powerful shift. So the key, again, is to get to the point where you're aware of every single thought and emotion that you have in each moment. For myself, I realized that in order to become happy and at peace, I knew that I would have to become really present and really aware in each moment, instead of running on autopilot with my thoughts, judgments, and emotional reactions. When I first decided to really get good at this, I had to figure out a foolproof way for monitoring my progress, because I realized that I was running on automatic pilot all day long. And even if I had a good heart and I was kind, I was still being triggered and in judgment all day long. So I needed to come up with an easy way to track these thoughts and judgments in each moment. As long as I made the commitment to stay aware, I truly knew from my teacher and my mentor that I could create a major shift. And at first it seemed a little daunting because this was really new to me. I'd never been taught this before. So I began to look for a simple tool that would allow me to do this wherever I was at any time without needing to stop and write things down in the moment that I was having a judgment or reaction. So if I'm out in public, I don't want to be writing things down. If I'm on the bus, if I'm driving a car, wherever I'm at. So this is what I did. I purchased a small number clicker that's used to keep score in golf, so I could keep it in my pocket and keep score of my thoughts no matter where I was. I could just keep it in my pocket. And it turned out to be one of the greatest tools that I ever gave myself. Just getting into the habit of catching each thought or emotional reaction started to create new neural pathways in my brain. And with practice, I began to start to notice how I was doing this over and over and over. So I promise you, and I guarantee you, it gets so much easier so quickly the more attention and focus you give to it. The other thing is you can place a rubber band on your wrist and just give it a little snap every time you judge yourself or another, or anytime you get triggered. The reason a golf clicker is great, and I love it, is because you can keep track of your score day by day. And you can start to watch the score go down quickly the more you pay attention and cultivate your awareness. So, you know, in the first day, you might be up in the hundreds. By the end of the first week, you could be down, you could cut that in half or less. So either way, committing to do this exercise until you begin to see the benefits is priceless. It's priceless, and it doesn't cost anything. The clicker was maybe $5 at a pro shop, golf shop. So another powerful tool that I really recommend to everybody that I work with, and anybody that's been in one of our groups has been, you know, recommended to do this. So what this does, it'll remind you to be present with your thoughts. So a great tool now is to set alarm reminders on your phone. So we recommend setting 6 reminders that contain a short message that go off, say, every hour and a half during the day. You can set the alarms to vibrate mode so nobody else gets distracted. You can still be at work. You can be at your desk. You can be in your car. You can be on a phone call. And it's just a priceless key of accountability, simple accountability to remind you. And the beauty of it is it works. It works so well if you just commit to doing it. So one of the messages can be as simple as, am I staying aware of my thoughts and my emotions? Another one could be, am I in my head or my heart right now? So many people are operating from their head in the past or in the future. You will not find your happiness in the past or in the future. So this is another really great way to fast track your progress and speed up the process. So another powerful key that people often overlook when they start to do some deeper work, or they get on the, for lack of a better word, spiritual path, is they start to take things so seriously. They think there's somewhere to get to. And until they get there, that story of still not being good enough is still operating in the background. So taking things too seriously will bring more judgment and stress, which goes against the whole purpose. So when you can really finally embody the truth that no matter what is going on in your life, it's all happening for your highest good on your journey, you're able to choose to find a gift in every moment, even if you are greatly challenged. So again, it's all a choice. So that sentence I read about it's all happening for your highest good on your journey, I studied this for many years about why am I here? What's my purpose? And I began to realize before I even started to write the book that I basically kind of had to have faith in something, because I couldn't prove everything. I couldn't prove that there was a God that I was going to meet later on. I believe that we're all gods right now because we're part of the macro. So if we're part of the macro, it's got to be all of us. So we are gods that are awakening and remembering that we are unlimited beings. And we've been plopped into this dream called Earth. And it truly can be heaven on earth when you start to watch your thoughts and stop letting them control you by reacting to them. So again, it's all a choice. So I believe that every single thing that happens in your life, good and especially bad, is all there for your soul's highest purpose. There's a goal to this journey. The goal is, from the best I can tell, is to wake up to unconditional love. That means starting with yourself, learning to love yourself unconditionally, no matter what you think your flaws are, no matter what your past is. That was part of the game to challenge you. Otherwise, if you just came in here awake, it just wouldn't be the same. And there's many times when I wish that we would just all come in here awake, because that's what's starting to happen right now. And it's going to be such a more beautiful planet as soon as we get some things ironed out. But again, it's all a choice, and this is the journey. So I tell people, no matter what we do in any of the programs that I do, raising your conscious awareness is really the only game in town. It all starts there. It doesn't matter if you're trying to make more money, or you want to find the perfect partner, or you want to have a home, or the job that you love. If you do not raise your conscious awareness to where you are in control of it, you're going to completely keep sabotaging everything no matter what shows up, because those old wounds in programming, until they get cleared, they're going to keep creating those cycles and loops. So nothing else has the ability to change your life for the better in every area than raising your conscious awareness. The beauty of this is that we're breaking a cycle of programming that has literally been going on for thousands of years. So to play your role in this as a new leader is not only a gift to you, but it's a huge, massive gift to everybody that you interact with, everybody that you're in relationship with. And then as leaders, we go out and we affect thousands or millions of more people on the planet. Nothing will make you feel better. So let's talk about some exercises of how we can really commit to doing this. Because again, for anybody that's gone through the program with Tim or I or Mel, you can see the major shifts that occur in 4 to 6 weeks when you commit to showing up for yourself and doing this work. So let's talk about this. So for 1 month or more, this is the invitation. Basically, when you see this working, you're going to want to do it for the rest of your life, because it's going to radically shift everything in your life. You're going to have more peace, more happiness, more abundance, more joy. You're going to drop so much baggage, pain, and emotional stuff you've been carrying with you. So it's amazing. So for 1 month, let's just commit to this. At the end of each day, take 10 to 15 minutes to journal your experience when you noticed yourself judging, reacting, contracting, or being triggered. How many times did you notice yourself judging or feeling triggered? Just remember through the day, what caused the judgment or reaction? Was it somebody on the road in front of you? Was it somebody in line at the grocery store? Was it that person at work that always pisses you off or never does their full share? What was it? Just write it down. When we put things down on paper, we bring them more into the light. So it really allows us to basically bring the energy of that into the light, and it allows us to clear it faster. So what caused the judgment or reaction? And then what was your emotion? Was it anger? Did you contract because you felt less than? You felt unworthy being around somebody or speaking to somebody that you felt was smarter than you or more beautiful than you? So write these things down at the end of your day. I promise you, if you do this exercise, it will change everything in your life. So 15 minutes of journaling every evening or sometime during the day, whenever you can commit to it. I like to do it in the evening because then I remember what happened during the day. If I go to sleep and do it the next day, it's not going to be as effective. So how many times did you notice yourself judging or feeling triggered? That's where the golf counter really comes in amazing. I mean, you could keep a small little, open up tiny 2 by 4 inch notepad or something and just put a tick in there every time you judge yourself. And again, make this fun. This isn't about beating yourself up. It's about having frickin' fun. Laugh about it. Cut through the energy of the emotions that are heavy, that are weighing you down. Let's start letting some of this stuff go. So how many times did you notice yourself judging or feeling triggered? Then what caused that judgment or reaction or emotion? And then what was the emotion? I was angry. I felt less than. I wanted to cry. I felt unworthy, whatever it is. So this is really where we start to change the game here. So also, did you catch it when it happened? Or did you react? Did you respond? And then after you responded, you went, oh, yeah, I remember I'm supposed to watch that. So I can watch the thought, take a breath, and not raise my voice, raise my energy, or go into this long story about how somebody just screwed me over or how I'm upset. Because if we don't catch the emotional trigger immediately, it starts to run. The story starts to run because now you're energetically triggered with, what do you call it? The emotional chemical when you get triggered, when you're in fear, you get a surge of that adrenaline. And so you may react, but very soon if you start doing this, you're going to go, I'm not going to react anymore. I'm going to go into, what can I learn from this? What is this teaching me? This isn't about the other person. They're in their own reality. If they want to react, they can react. That's fine. But I don't need to be right. And I don't need to engage in drama with them. You don't lose by walking away. If somebody's triggered, you don't lose. When two people are triggered or even one person's triggered, it is not the time to respond. That's the time when we write letters or we send texts when we're triggered that just exacerbate the situation in a negative way. When you raise your voice with somebody in communication, they feel that emotion. Now you're each projecting on each other. Everybody loses. You're never going to win when you start raising your voice. You may think you're going to win because you're triggered and you need to be right. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. So let's get really clear on that. Anytime you're triggered is not the time to respond. It is a losing situation, okay? And as soon as you start to get this, you are going to eliminate drama from your life like you've never seen before. And you're going to start attracting more amazing, high vibrational, so to speak, people into your life because you're no longer holding these emotions and wounds. So you don't need to learn those lessons anymore. It's beautiful how it works when you start to see the power of these exercises. So the key is, did you catch this when it happened? We're still talking about journaling here. Did you stop and breathe and feel the emotion? Let it feel. Don't stuff it down. Most people stuff it down, or they run, or they go distract themselves with beer, alcohol, drugs, porn, whatever, watching a movie, anything to distract themselves, food. The key to disarming the cycle is to allow the emotion to come up and feel it. I have a saying that I love. It's really simple. Feeling is healing. Because this stuff is coming up to teach you something. It's doing its best to get your attention. And the beauty of it is, if it doesn't get your attention this time, it's going to come up stronger next time. So if you're paying attention, you're going, okay, I'm triggered right now. What can I learn from this? 5 magic words that are in the book. What is the gift here? I really invite you to write that down right now. Anytime you get triggered, this is the golden master key. What is the gift here? So doing this each day will create massive shift in your awareness by continuing to watch your thoughts and emotions. Miguel taught me when I became an apprentice of his back in 2001. He taught myself and some others that were in the group to imagine ourselves sitting in an abandoned movie theater. So there's nobody else in the theater. We're sitting in the middle and we're watching the screen. And we're watching ourselves interact in situations. We're watching ourselves engage with other people. And we're sitting back as this watcher. Miguel called it the second attention. And when you can start to do this and step back a little bit and get out of reaction mode, get into growth and learning mode, you'll start to go, oh, wow, I just got triggered again. What's the wound? Let me feel into that. And you can start disarming this stuff like so quick, so quick. So I'm 100% committed to following up on this training with you moving forward until it becomes a habit. of conscious awareness, because this is the number one thing that created the biggest shift in my life. It's the number one thing that creates the shifts in the people that I work with. And it's the number one key to dismantling these wounds and automatic triggers that everybody I've ever met or worked with has. I've met some people that are very advanced that have done their work, and they'll still tell me they still have triggers. It's just that they notice them when they come up, and they have these tools. Doing yoga and meditation and quieting your mind is one of the greatest tools you'll use, and I highly recommend a minimum of 15 minutes of that every morning and every evening. At least every morning, as soon as you wake up, before your mind starts racing and has to think about everything that you have to do that day. I stop, I go into gratitude, I give thanks for my body, for my breath, the fact that I have a bed or somewhere to sleep, the fact that I have running water, that I have a toilet, a shower, something to eat, people in my life that love and support me. And then I go into creating my day. Something like today's going to be an incredible day. I'm pumped. I can't wait to see what shows up in my life, the synchronicities, the incredible people that I get to smile at, that I get to uplift, that I get to help, that will help me because I'm setting this intention. And when I started doing this every morning, I got to see that started happening every day in my life. It didn't mean there weren't challenges that came up, but the challenges are gifts. The challenges are gifts. And your judge might go into right now, how can you say that somebody that just died is a gift? How can you say that somebody getting murdered or raped is a gift? Well, in the grandest scheme of things, in the bigger picture that many have not investigated, it all comes down to compassion for others, finding the gift. Instead of being upset that somebody died in your life or was taken away from you, how about looking at it like, what was the gift? Wow, I feel so blessed that I got to spend so much time with this amazing person. I learned so much. They were so good to me. They reflected so many things back to me. There's always a gift. And your mind again can go into, well, what if you were raped, beaten, and abused? I cannot tell you why everybody goes through what they go through on their journey on this planet. But I've done enough research to know that there was a contract and these people are playing their role perfectly. Even the people that we label as bad out there, the governments, the people poisoning the food, the water, whatever, they're doing or playing their role to wake us up. We don't know, they could be saints. Hitler could have been a saint that had to take one for the team. Did you ever think about that? These are the things that will create infinite, unlimited, magical things starting to show up in your life if you stay out of judgment. Stay out of judgment and catch these triggers. Every time you have a judgment, it's about you. It is not about the other person. Unless they are physically beating you, assaulting you, or abusing you in that moment, then get the hell out of that situation. If it's somebody on television or in the media or they're your teachers, ask yourself, what is the gift here? Become a master of your emotions. You no longer have to be an emotional prisoner of your beliefs and your reactions. I hope you've gotten a lot out of this. I've planted every seed I can with you with all of my heart. This has done so much in my own life, in the lives of everyone that I get to share this with. All they have to do is practice it. Just commit to it. The rewards will blow your mind. So again, I'm 100% committed to following up on this because sometimes I had to hear things more than once from my teachers. Sometimes I had to hear them 100 times. But the more you commit to this stuff, the more you're going to notice magic showing up in your life. So I want to thank you for watching this and for showing up for yourself. the people in your life, and the planet. So reach out if you have any questions in the group. Private message me if you have any thoughts or comments, and I will be happy to show up and reflect with you on this great tool. I love it so much. It's so life-changing. And I just want to thank you so much for showing up. And many blessings to you.